Hey babe, I need you to take a deep breath and give me your full attention, because what I'm about to share isn't a passing apology or a casual admission. It's the hardest truth I've ever had to push past my lips. I've rehearsed this speech in the mirror and in my mind until the words felt like razor blades on my tongue, and every version still terrifies me. I'm not just scared of your anger. I'm scared of the hurt I might carve into your heart, the trust I might shatter beyond repair. But loving you means respecting you enough to hand you the unfiltered, unvarnished truth, even if it costs me everything we've built. So here it is, messy, raw, and trembling. Last night, I broke the promise of us. When I told you I would be hanging out with friends to decompress after a week that felt like an avalanche of stress. That part was true, but only at first. We met at the usual spot, clinking glasses, laughing louder than the music just to drown out our own exhaustion. Yet somewhere between the second drink and the warm streetlights outside, the night slipped off its leash and dragged me places I never meant to go. I wish I could pinpoint the precise moment I lost my footing, but it was a blur of bad choices, a shot I never needed, a joke that encouraged me to stay when my conscience begged me to go, the subtle electricity of conversation that should have stopped at friendly banter. By the time I realized the danger, the line between harmless and reckless had already smudged beneath our feet. You deserve the specifics, not vague brushstrokes. So let me paint the scene honestly, even if it makes my stomach twist. My friends decided to keep the night alive at a loft downtown, one of those places where the music throbs in the walls and the city lights leak through enormous windows. I told myself I'd stay for a single drink and leave, but each heartbeat on the speakers felt like it was daring me to forget the weight of responsibility. Somewhere in that haze, I found myself talking to someone I've known on the fringes of my circle for months. Someone I'd exchanged casual greetings with, but never anything beyond a nod and a quick smile. Last night, though, the boundaries we barely acknowledged quietly dissolved. We talked about work first, innocent, surface level stuff. Then we talked about disappointments, frustrations, and that uncanny loneliness you feel when everyone around you seems perfectly content. I could feel the evening sharpening its claws, hooking into all the insecurities I usually keep buried. I confessed how crushed I'd felt under deadlines, how powerless I'd felt trying to be everything to everyone. She listened, too closely. Her eyes held sympathy, and I mistook it for understanding. When she reached for my hand in solidarity, a warning flashed in my mind, whispering that this was the point to step back and remember you, remember us. But I ignored it. I told myself it was just comfort, just a moment of empathy in a crowded room. I was lying to myself, and deep down, I think I already knew it. The loft emptied out little by little, and soon the air thickened with a hush that felt dangerous. My friends called rides, and the city's pulse quieted to a distant hum. That should have been my exit. Instead, I grabbed another drink. The windows framed the skyline in glittering shards, and the music slowed to something sultry, coaxing secrets out of shadows. She asked if I wanted to step onto the balcony for fresh air. I said yes. That yes was a match struck near gasoline. On the balcony, the night breeze felt cool on my skin, but inside I was burning with a restlessness I couldn't name. We talked about childhood memories, exchanged stories of heartbreak, and the more secrets we shared, the more I felt the ground beneath my own values begin to tilt. She leaned in to say something. Honestly, I don't even remember what, and I should have stepped away right then. But I didn't. Instead, I leaned in too, letting the closeness fill a void I never should have acknowledged. The city lights danced in her eyes, and my heart pounded with a cocktail of panic and excitement. I knew I was about to cross a line I could never repaint. When the kiss happened, it was soft, almost tentative, but it detonated inside my chest like fireworks in a silent sky. It lasted less than a heartbeat, but the damage was immediate. I pulled back, guilt flooding me, and I mumbled that I needed to go. She said she understood, but then she suggested we talk somewhere quieter. Her place was just a 5-minute walk. Another fork in the road. And again, I chose wrong. I can't sugarcoat what happened next. I followed her. We walked in tense silence, each step an insult to every promise I've ever made you. In her apartment, the air smelled faintly of lavender and something sweet, and every sense in me was screaming to turn around. I wish I could say I did. I wish I could claim a fragment of restraint, but the truth is, I stayed. We talked on her couch, and the conversation tried to turn back toward innocent, but we'd already tainted the air with that kiss. When she touched my shoulder, I didn't move away. When she traced her fingers down my arm, I didn't stop her. It felt like watching myself in a nightmare, knowing I should wake up but unable to pry my eyes open. Then we stood, and she led me to the bedroom, and I let momentum write a chapter I will forever wish I could rip from existence. I slept with her. No excuses, no half-truths. I betrayed you in the most physical, intimate way possible. I'd love to blame the alcohol, the stress, the temporary numbness that convinced me nothing outside that room was real. But none of that erases the choices I made. The responsibility is mine. When it was over, reality crashed back in so violently I almost couldn't breathe. She fell asleep, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, my heart like a stone sinking in seawater. I felt sick, physically sick, because the weight of what I'd done settled on my chest and refused to budge. I imagined your face, your smile, the tenderness in your eyes when you tell me you love me, and I realized I'd shattered something sacred for a fleeting moment of false comfort. I slipped out of her bed before dawn, quietly dressed, and walked the streets until sunrise bled over the horizon. With each step, guilt pressed harder, digging claws into my skin. I replayed the night like a broken record, trying to pinpoint exactly when I could have stopped, how many chances I'd had to leave. The answer was, too many. The more the city brightened, the darker I felt. By the time I got home, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror without feeling disgust. Every reflection felt like a stranger wearing my shame. That's when I knew silence wasn't an option. If I stayed silent, the lie would metastasize, corroding every future laugh, every gentle touch we share. I refuse to build tomorrow on rotten foundations. So here I am, confessing before the sun even sets on the next day, confessing because you deserve the uncut truth while it's still raw. I love you. That fact hasn't wavered, even when my actions scream the opposite. And that makes this even more unforgivable. You trusted me to guard our love, to speak up when temptation whispered, to come home to you in one piece. I failed. I know, I'm sorry, can sound cheap when the wound is this deep, but I am sorry in a way words can barely contain. My regret weighs more than any apology could carry. I broke the vows we made in 1,000 little ways. Every time I didn't text back promptly, every time I suppressed that nagging voice telling me to leave, every time I convinced myself a harmless conversation isn't crossing a line. I'm not going to beg you to stay, but I am going to fight for the possibility of your forgiveness. I'll answer any question you ask, no matter how excruciating. I'll do therapy, alone or together. I'll surrender my phone, my social media, my freedom to step out without accountability if that helps rebuild trust. I'll establish boundaries so clear that even the foggiest night can't obscure them. If you need time away from me, I'll respect that. If you decide this betrayal is a line too far, I'll understand, and I won't try to guilt you into staying. You are the injured party, and you have every right to protect your heart in whatever way feels safest. But if, by some miracle of grace, you choose to let me try, I promise I will put in relentless effort to earn your belief again. I'll wake up each day determined to be the partner you thought I was, to rebuild what I demolished. It will take more than vows and promises. It will take daily actions, holy patience, and the humility to admit when I falter. It will take me listening without defense when you need to vent your hurt. It will take me accepting that your trust won't rebound overnight, that you might question small things I once took for granted. I won't resent those questions. They're the natural consequence of my actions. I also know there's a deeper conversation behind this betrayal about why I let the pressure stew unchecked, why I looked for comfort outside the safe harbor of our relationship instead of telling you how overwhelmed I felt. I should have leaned on you, the person who always stands by my side. Yet I kept my fears bottled in, fearing I'd burden you. That silence created a vacuum, and last night, that vacuum sucked me into a disastrous choice. It's no justification, just context I need to acknowledge so we can address the root, not only the rupture. Please understand, I don't expect a neat bow on this. Healing is messy. It includes nights when you can't look at me without crying, mornings when the memory hits fresh as a bruise, days when resentment sneaks in like ashes on the wind. I'm ready for that heavy work. I'll mourn with you. I'll give you space. I'll sit quietly while you yell if you need to. I'll keep showing up, because love isn't proved by flawless performance, but by the courage to rebuild after failure. I want to be brave enough to face what I've done and gentle enough to hold your pain without flinching. I also know that apologies can ring hollow if the offending behavior keeps repeating, so let me be clear. This cannot and will not happen again. If I find myself at the edge of temptation, even at the first whisper, I will step back, call you, leave the situation, whatever it takes. I will reach for the tools we create together. Maybe a safe word we text each other. Maybe a nightly check-in. Maybe stricter limits on social drinking. Whatever reinstates safety, I will embrace. I'm not asking for blind trust. I'm offering transparent accountability. As I write these words, my throat tightens because I can almost feel the moment your eyes reach this confession and everything in your face shifts. I dread the storm of emotions I've unleashed, the shock, the heartbreak, the fury. And still, I'm writing because love without honesty is hollow. I kept telling myself this confession would drain the love from your eyes. But maybe, just maybe, the very act of telling you allows a sliver of hope. Because love that's meant to last is forged in truth, even when that truth hurts like salt in an open wound. Whatever you decide next, know that I cherish you. You are the laugh that melts my worst day, the voice that steadies my doubts, the softness I never believed I deserved. If walking away from me will keep that softness intact, I respect it. But if you choose to stay, if you see a future where this scar becomes part of our story rather than its ending, I promise to meet you there with every ounce of humility and devotion I have. It won't be easy. Nothing worth saving ever is. But I believe in us, even in the rubble of my mistake, and I will spend however long it takes proving that belief matters. So here I stand, heart in trembling hands, asking, can we talk? Can we map a path, whether it's back to each other or two separate roads that still wish the other safe travel? I will listen, fully and without defense. I will answer your questions until you have no more left. I will give you every detail you need, because secrecy's reign ends tonight. All I ask is that you tell me how you feel, no matter how raw. Yell, cry, whisper. Just let me hear you, let me be present. Let me learn the weight of my actions by witnessing their impact on the person I love most. Take your time. Read this 100 times if you need. Toss your phone across the room if that's what your heart demands. Then, when you're ready, I'll be here, waiting, humbled, and determined to make my love for you the safest place you know, not the reason for your tears. Whatever happens next, please remember this. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and joy. You deserve someone who protects your heart as fiercely as their own. I failed last night, but I hope in time I can prove that failure doesn't define me or us. If you allow me, I will spend the rest of my life proving love's capacity to rise from ashes. And if you can't, know I will carry gratitude for every laugh, every morning, every future we ever dreamed of. You remain, eternally, the best part of my story, even if I'm no longer the hero in yours. With all my broken honesty, me,